You're a wonderful person, as are you, our listeners, Lagos. So we're jumping into the stories now. Do remember that WhatsApp number you can message is 0809 4440981 to get in your comments on today's stories. And of course, up on our Twitter handle, we have tweeted the headlines to you as well. Mr. Ireti, the first story is rather interesting news. The Premium Times carries the story, but you can find it in other national dailies as well. Bauchi's deputy governor has resigned. This happened on Wednesday, and he cited in his resignation letter to the governor, Muhammad Abubakar, that his waning enthusiasm for the job was the reason that he was leaving. I mean, this is, I've never seen this before in Nigeria. What's your take on this story?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's a good sign. I think people should in Nigeria start to protest with their feet, and they should always protest with their money. I keep saying that all the time. We, as a people, we are cowards. We don't complain in writing. We moan to each other. And we, this is the one thing. If you want to protest, there are different ways to protest. One of which is to hand in your resignation, and others will follow suit. But often what happens is they make you do it for yourself. Me, I know fit. I get family. And I like this.
Sorry, speaking of following suit, just to give our listeners a bit of background to also the things that have happened here. You see, in December of 2017, the Commissioner for Budget and Planning, also in the same state, Sheon Ningi, also resigned from his position. And he said that the atmosphere was unaccommodating, debilitating, and non-advisor friendly.
Correct, exactly. And the current, another one, I think I'm trying to look for his quotes now.
Deputy.
Yes, that's right.
Chairman.
Yes, has also said that, also tendered his resignation. So 3 so far. There's clearly rancor. What you're reading, and this is just one, we don't have the other side of the story yet. What we're getting, what you get, the impression you get from this is that there's autocracy, some sort of autocracy going on. He doesn't want to be advised. I think somebody said not advising, that's it, non-advisor friendly. That's right, non-advisor friendly, which is a very, very smart, and I think it's a very good, smart term to use. What I like about the way they've done this is, like I said, collective resignation. Pata needs to come in and say, right, why is everybody in your cabinet resigning? What is going on? Call him to order. But we don't get that abusive, tirade, thank you, against each other. Not yet, but they're resigning. And really, Nigerians, we really need to learn from this. You can protest in many ways. Protest with your resignation, but if you all plan it together, don't leave him or her to go and do it by herself. You can put your resignation, your protest in writing. The head of an airline, very quickly, a very big airline that comes to Nigeria, once said to a mentor of mine who was in the airline industry, he said, I would have lost my business if Nigerians actually bothered to their complaints, put their complaints in writing. He said, honestly, the amount of payouts we would have done, I probably would have lost my business, but they don't. And that's why I keep saying we need to stop being cowards. Come, guys.
Thank you very much for that, Miss Ireti. Please do send in your comments as well to us, Lagos, on Twitter using the hashtag FreshlyPress981, up on YouTube by commenting on our live stream. You'll find us at youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos, and by sending in messages to our WhatsApp number as well. Going over to our next story, Funmi, I'm going to jump over to this story from the New Telegraph about the federal government saying that Wike is abusing his immunity. They've accused the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, of abusing privileges of immunity as a public officer. This came out from the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, and it was in reaction to the allegation by Wike that he's been talking about this quite a while on and off again, and it seems to get louder whenever there's a sort of elections happening. What's your take on this story?
The truth is, when you hear when are we going to have adults, an important thing. When he made the allegations, he went the Nigerian police force. The immunity that we can do this. The truth is, immunity often leads to impunity, and it's just the truth of things. But I also imagine, there's so many imperfections in Nigeria that I also imagine in Nigeria without immunity. Fire should probably be in prison right now. Wike will probably be in prison right now. A whole lot of. So yes, I think we still need it. Immunity. There's a sort of, apart from the constitutional immunity that people enjoy. There's this sort of political immunity, informal immunity that we have that has to do with being connected with the right people. And so the immunity clause, what actually gives it, what actually makes it a successful clause in any constitution are independent institutions that would do what is right irrespective of the administration that is in power. But when you have a situation where the security agencies, the law enforcement agencies are subject to the whims and caprices of the administration in power, then you have a situation where opposition parties, opposition members of the opposition are at risk. You have a situation where even after they leave office, because I doubt a lot of the people that enjoy immunity will do a lot of things if they know that they would actually the arm of the law will actually catch up with them when you come out of office.
Well, for me, here's a question for you. While we're looking at this, and we do understand the role that immunity plays and why it is important that certain offices be protected in a way so at least the officers sitting there have a chance to do their jobs. What role does the private citizen have in ensuring that the person who's sitting in that office also isn't abusing that immunity or, as you said, acting with impunity while that's there?
Protest. That's the best we can do.
Protest, recall.
Well, there is the process.
We keep forgetting that we can actually recall.
And then there's the process of impeachment. But you know that a whole lot of these things are politically motivated. For example, it's most of the times when we hear of impeachment, it always has to do with political rancor in the ranks, and not actually because of abuse of office or anything that has to do with the citizens. Half the time, it's only mostly because there's political rancor in the ranks. But what would actually help Nigeria are actually independent institutions. As long as our institutions remain within the powers and controls of the current administration, we're going to have a situation where we would always have this feeling of, if you're friendly with the current administration, you can get away with anything, and if you're not, well, we'll look for a way to get you.
Thank you very much for that, Funmi. Food for thought for us there. As we now switch lanes, Ikemesit, speaking of security situations, people being worried about their protection. Let's talk about insecurity. We're here for our insecurity special. So this next headline reads from the Vanguard newspaper: security chiefs are at Senate demanding special funding. So there had been a closed door session at the Senate, lasted for about 4 hours just recently, and it happened because the security chiefs needed to talk about special funding to deal with the high level of killings in the country. When I looked up sort of numbers to do with how many people have died in the first quarter of this year from violent deaths, we're looking at close to 2,000 people, well, 1,300 and something thereabouts as of March this year. Really high numbers and things to be worried about. But what's your take on this discussion, and what do you think could have come out of this discussion with the Senate?
It's interesting. It's very important that you mentioned the fact that we had a security special last week when I was in, and you remember one of the specific questions that we asked our guest was how the budgetary process works and how our security agencies navigate through it. So it's worth noting that the appropriation bill was just passed last week.
Yes.
It could be now this meetings,
but has not yet been assented to.
Yes, it hasn't been assented to by the president, and as we're going to find out, someone in the president's cabinet actually says that the National Assembly has not returned the appropriation bill to the president. But what this just underscores again is it just illustrates the disconnect, within crucial segments of our government architecture, in a situation where the security agencies, the head of all the security agencies, had met with the Senate just on May the 8th, to talk about such issues as coordination and information sharing among security agencies. Again, a point that we put to our guests last week, and also issues that have to do with it. It seems to me at this point that probably, and this is my outside reading, because obviously a lot of the details, the story isn't peppered with a lot of details and context.
It was a closed door session.
Indeed, yeah. But from the outside looking in, it would seem that the security chiefs probably looked at their allocations in this year's budget and probably weren't very satisfied with it. And the Senate has promised to fast track this process. They've said that the security agencies should submit a budget for a special fund to the National Assembly, and it will be expeditiously attended to. On the one hand, the troops, the guys at the front line actually need funds in order to prosecute this war against terror, as it were, and address the other myriad insecurity challenges that we have in the country. On the other hand, you've also got to look at the fact that it's very difficult for us to divulge this from the wider political framework of the fact that we are looking towards an election year. Everybody's thinking about how they are going to run their races.
We don't trust anyone.
Yeah, but
what are you doing with our money?
So off the record, two high-placed security sources that I spoke to recently actually said that a lot of the security chiefs come and they ask for special allocations, right? A lot of the guys on the National Assembly sides of this, you're talking about senators and our lawmakers, just look at that as an opportunity to just cream off, a little bit for their own purposes. So literally lastly, so it's almost like this story was trolling me. All right.
Well, here's the question: do you think that some of this also could be relating to the extra budgetary funds that the presidency was accused of assigning over to purchase certain equipment as well? Do you think the security chiefs might be trying to look at that, because we know that our Senate and our reps are not very happy?
Yeah, indeed. But then again, those were appropriated for a very specific purpose. It doesn't seem like this falls under that framework. If this had some consonance to do with the other one, and it might seem like this request was made to retroactively assign some form of legality to the earlier appropriation by the federal government, that would be very, very tough. That would be a very, very tough call. But again, let me not get too cynical into Nigeria.
Don't be cynical. Come on, let's stay optimistic and positive there.
Just a second there. Let's take a message from YouTube. Olatunde Alao, thank you for joining us. He says, on the Wike outburst, when APC was in opposition, they made similar allegations against the Jonathan administration, claiming they were trained snipers, killer squads after people.
Wike's predecessor in office actually made that. Yeah, he patented that role. So yeah.
Well, Konko Samuel on Twitter says, Amnesty International. Okay, we haven't gotten to that story, but we'll take it when we do. Let's move on.
All right, we've got this next one in from the Daily Times newspaper. The National Assembly is yet to transmit the 2018 budget to the presidency, says the Minister for Budget and National Planning, Udo Doma. He disclosed this on Wednesday while responding to inquiries from the State House correspondents at the end of the meeting of the Federal Executive Council. So over to you, Funmi, your take on this story. A lot of, it took quite a while for the appropriation bill to be passed. That's finally happened last week. Now we're waiting.
Exactly, Folu. It's just been a week. I mean, give them a break. We have how many pages to, cross our I's, dot our T's.
Right.
I don't know if you have to restaple some papers.
Maybe somebody walked out with the
then the
budget
binder machine has to be turned on.
Funmi, you're a lawyer. When you're dealing with time-bound documents that involve a lot of facts and figures, do you really take your time?
Well,
or do you pull all-nighters?
Well, I work privately. We know that private institutions, we work 36 hours on a full 24 hours.
Exactly.
But we're talking about...
And only get paid for 10 hours.
Well, come on.
Six.
We're talking about, this man that, I mean, took them 7-8 months. To actually pass the budget.
I mean, but think about it this way. I mean, the State House correspondents are going to ask this question because presidency is under a lot of pressure right now. They're saying, what has your administration done? Look at this poor track record. Look at what's going on. So they're firing.
Sarcasm aside, it is actually extremely disappointing. Very, very disappointing. I don't know what the process is after you have passed the budget to move it within the same Abuja. Within the same 3 hours.
Just drive down the road. Just drive
to Aso Rock. We all know that so far Nigeria is a country that sort of things move slow when our government is not spending money. The economy moves extremely slowly. So this is something that actually affects a whole lot of things. We abuse our senators so much that I don't know, and it's as if they just keep giving you excuses to say something more. Like,
it's called thick skin. Hide, raw hide. That's what it is.
Well, let's move on. A couple of messages have come through, and then we'll move on to our next set of stories this morning. Lizzie, that's at Southern Empress up on Twitter, says, I'm truly tired of election theatrics employed by politicians in Nigeria. Governor Wike, she tags him, saying is misusing his immunity by constantly blaming, abusing, and accusing the federal government. He should grow up. While Silver Bullet, who's at Flexmaster Nate, says Nigerians are raised to be cowardly. You cannot complain about our parents' successes when you report report teacher misconduct at school, you are victimized by a higher authority. You protest against unfair treatment at work, and you lose your job.
That is
Go
so
to court
true.
and fail to get justice.
That is so true, which is why we must support each other when somebody has a valid complaint.
Very, very important and very, very well said, Ms. Ireti. While Olujareg says, unfortunately, the president doesn't have the constitutional power to question the manner in which. What? No, I don't know what
You are.
What? Samuel from Lekki says, there's something funny about Nigerian government and their attitude towards criticism and accolades. When IMF said Nigeria exited recession, the government embraced it. But when the same IMF and Bill Gates condemned the ESDG, they said it was a wrong judgment. So I'm not surprised that the presidency refutes this report. I think a lot of people are tweeting ahead about. So let's move on to the Amnesty International report, shall we?
And that's because I saw the on Twitter with the headlines here.
Good for you.
Very
Good for
proactive,
you.
guys. Thank you so much. The next one is on Guardian. A federal fault Amnesty International's report on security agencies. So the federal government has faulted this report that was released and, blatantly accused the Nigerian military of separating women from and getting them to have sexual relations with them in exchange for food and some form of comfort as well. So Amnesty International released this report. Reacting to this, now the Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, released a statement yesterday saying that the reports have been recycled for the past 3 years. Almost, he said 2015, 2016, and 2017. They are repeating the same chain of reports, and then some protesters went to their office, Amnesty International's office, to protest and say they should leave the country. What's your take on this?
Yes, well, the reports may have been recycled because maybe the same things have been happening for the past.
And the
few
facts have
years.
been ignored.
Yeah, exactly. Not, but there's a very important quote by the federal government that I absolutely love. I mean, I thought yours were bad, but it says that the report is inherently battling with credibility and falling vehemently short of evidential narration. I mean,
Wow.
That's a strong legal term.
Someone within the federal government that is that eloquent.
Yes.
You need to
that's
leave that person.
Never
But they resign
trust
quickly.
anyone that tries to bamboozle you with language from the dictionary that they can't swallow.
Hey.
Hey.
I should say bamboozling again. We're looking at it in different times.
But Amnesty International's credibility it's not the first time it's been challenged.
A bit shaky.
Yes, it's a bit shaky
Globally.
But also for me is interesting the fact that the countries that happen to question most of the time, the countries that try to question Amnesty International's credibility are those that are notorious for actually human rights
Violations.
violations. We
But
have the Democratic Republic of Congo, we have Vietnam, we have all of that.
But you also have the United States of America.
Yes, but
And Nigeria.
Yeah. And I'm just pointing out there are a lot of
Yeah.
those
But
that have
my problem with
Republic of China.
that out of all the big grammar that Kabashihu said, one thing he did say was that the report did not contain factual leads that could have laid the foundation for investigative action.
because they did ask. They said, listen, where did you
Where
get this
did
from?
you
get
Let us
this
know.
from?
Let's go check.
Yes, let's go investigate. Nevertheless, it does not stop the Nigerian army from going to investigate by itself. These are things that, well, I wouldn't like to say expected because you shouldn't really expect this kind of bad behavior. But in refugee camps of every form of nature,
Yes.
these are abuses that are sort of
Exist.
that exist
Because of the nature
because
of
the nature
the
of
refugee
the
camp.
camps. So it's not enough if you're a government that is interested in protecting your people. It's good to come on paper and deny all the allegations, but I do hope that the Nigerian army is investigating in some form of way, because abuses are I hate to say it human nature, but I think it's
It's
human nature.
dehumanizing. No,
Abuses-
it is.
It's not
when the
human nature,
opportunities
but
exist for abuses of this nature, people with seemingly
Proclivity.
power, like the soldiers, would try to take advantage of it in any situation, in any country.
I mean, look
But
at
I
the
think
French
the
soldiers
problem
in-
here is more so the fact that, look, instead of them to say, look, thank you for bringing this to our attention, we're going to deal with it, give us your report, we're going to start our own investigation.
He did say.
We're busy deflecting.
No, he actually
and
mentioned.
that's part of the
Garba
problem
Shehu
we have in
mentioned
this
that they've
country.
constituted a high-level committee to look into.
I'm
this
sick and tired of
reports and
committees.
all that
That's another
they
committee
should
that
have
will go
included
missing.
that development really in their latest reports, which is what he said. So let's see that they're taking action. We'll see results soon.
And that's the most important thing.
Exactly. Thank you
We
very
will
much.
never know what the action they take, and we'll never see the result.
We'll
That's
see
the
it.
problem.
We'll follow. This day comes next with this one. Says 25,000 youths to lose job in Anambra over Okada ban. So they're giving them till the 1st of July to stop using that in those states. Now, talking about Anambra State, we're talking about Onitsha and Oka, both in the same state. They say in Oka, the group that the Association of Motorcycle Transport, the Motorcycle Transport Union of Nigeria, Oka South chapter, said that 10,000 youths will lose their job in Oka alone, and over 15,000 persons will lose their jobs in Onitsha. And when we go to places like that in the east, really, we'll find that that's the main source of transportation, especially where you're looking to board a bus to connect to Port Harcourt and other states around the region. It's very easy because vehicular transport is in shambles. The road network is not so good, so they get you through these places quickly.
I mean, ostensibly, this is taking place, the ban is taking place because certain criminal activities were being perpetrated with the assistance of the motorcycles, to which Kingsley Nwora, the chairman of the motorcycle transport union, as you said, is it only Okada that is used to? And let's talk about Anambra for a moment, because we were recently in Anambra. My organization was recently in Anambra, and we did a socio-economic survey. Anambra's unemployment rate right now is 29.5%, right? Some key indices about Anambra. So we asked almost 1,000 people what the biggest issue they're facing is. You know what they said? 54.7% people, 54.7% said their biggest challenge is unemployment.
Out of how many, roughly?
Out of almost 1,400 respondents, 54.7% of them said their main challenge is unemployment. 42% on the question of oil bunkering think that oil bunkering, while it's terrible, is being done by people who have no other option. 70% scored their state government, which is about to throw ostensibly 25,000 people off the job market, scored their state government either a 1 or a 2 on a scale of 5 on its performance with respect to job creation and unemployment. 62% think that the 2019 election will be more violent than 2015. Almost at the time when we are close to elections, and you're training a lot of people, which will form a ready army for people with political interest to protect into the market. And Willie Obiano promised that he was not going to ban bikes, by the way. Well,
he did, yeah.
So the whole thing is a mess. You would have thought that, okay, there's a motorcycle transport union. These folks are registered. Go and liaise with these people. Get a database of these guys. Put in monitoring mechanisms in conjunction with the police to try to track the people who you ostensibly say are using motorcycles to commit crimes instead of banning. It's the same issue we had with the codeine ban. It's the same issue we had with the 41 items that were banned unthinkingly by our financial regulators. Our default solution to our socioeconomic problems should not just be the outright
ban.
How about banning cars? They use cars for robbery.
Exactly.
How about banning cars?
Exactly. It shouldn't be the outright disenfranchisement of millions of Nigerians from participating in the economy, especially at a time when said economy is pretty much a living, working wreck. I don't get it.
Thank you very much, Daddy Ikemesit.
Sigh.
Messages coming through very quickly. OB from Surulere says we shall continue to suffer from poor security until the proper attention and importance is accorded to the police, which is the primary and most important security tool of any serious country. And we've got this from Papi K, who says, Amnesty International should go and sit down and beg. Wow. Thousands of rape cases? How bad? Are we saying it's a direct order from military hierarchy to its officers to go on a rampage? Pockets of occurrence, totally agreeable, but thousands? Let's move on.
Let's move on.
While Henry Emmanuel says no value for money, none. He says the appropriation bill is over 1,000 pages with other budget support documents. It also must reconcile differences between the Senate and House of Reps copy of the appropriation bill. But because they earned 13.5 million naira as monthly overhead, maybe they ought to have completed work on the documents. No value for money, none.
Senators do like Funmi does, all-nighters.
Right,
Get that coffee.
36 hours in a day. Guardian has this one. Obaseki okay's Edo State trafficking prohibition law. So he was addressing a group of people that included Ambassador of the European Union of Nigeria, Ambassador to Denmark, and the International Organization for Migration Chief of Mission, really, he was there as well. And then in this story, they said monthly stipends of 20,000 naira was paid to each of the returnees, including an empowerment package with training components, after which they were given starter packs. And in the statements that they released, they disclosed that they had signed a new prohibition law, trafficking in persons prohibition law 2018. Is Ireti Bakare Yusuf, what effect will this have to end trafficking issue in Nigeria for good?
Well, first and foremost, the person I've got to say thank you to is it the, what's the Oba called again?
The Oba of Benin.
Oba of Benin, yes. That basically lifted all the curses and said, look, the curse has been reversed. I mean, we laugh about it, and I did laugh, and we must all laugh, and everyone's laughing. But hey, exactly. The fact of the matter is, when you believe in something, it literally paralyzes you mentally, and it begins to disturb your own sense of logical thinking.
It starts working before the curse.
Thank you so much. Exactly. There you go. So that's the person I think we've got to say thank you to. Number one. So it's not Obaseki. Number two is, so these laws in Edo State have been created in line with a law that's already existing, federal government law.
Exactly.
Stop it, stop it, stop it. Here we go again. Committee, task force, bogwe. Nonsense. Just enforce the law. That is Obaseki's place not part of federal government? I mean, so why do we need to create a new one? So therein lies the issue. They've given me 20,000. I'm not excited. What I want to know is, just like my brother here, Ike said here, do not disenfranchise people. And for as long as you continue to disenfranchise people, forget it. You can have short-term measures, but the same problem will recur. That's it.
Thank you very much. We have new statistics in from ThisDay. NBS, 2,482 road crashes claimed 1,292 lives. In the first quarter of 2018, 92% were said to be adults and 8% children. Ikemesit, let's go quickly into this.
Yeah, apparently more men, 6,394, were involved in road crashes than women. No, not at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, we do most of the driving, in case you don't notice.
We're not going to respond because most of you can't drive.
It's... okay.
Please continue.
Yeah. So, interestingly, the MBS thinks that there are 11.6 million vehicles in Nigeria. I'm not so sure.
I believe
the number seems a little understated. But here's the thing: with respect to road safety, according to the World Development Indicators, right, and this is from 2015, Nigeria had 25 road deaths per 100,000 people. That's higher than Turkey. That's higher than Mexico. That's higher than Pakistan. That's higher than Egypt. It's pretty much in the upper percentile globally. So
and importantly, Ikemesit, a big reason why again that story sort of jumped out to me was we are lamenting the deaths. I know, we're lamenting the violent deaths. But look at how many of us are being lost to road accidents.
Exactly.
Look at what people's negligence, people's bad driving is causing.
We're closely. So let's put it this way, right? Let's be a little National Geographic and hyperbolic, as it were. We are closely tracking the number of fatalities that we've had with respect to the Boko Haram insurgency on our roads, right? And we declared a state of emergency in those 3 states. We declared a war on terror on them. We've sunk in billions of dollars into that. What are we doing about road safety?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a vital question there.
Very much. We'll round up with messages because it's we've come to that time, unfortunately.
Yes, we have.
This is in from Waji. Hello, Waji. He says, I love you all on Thursday, Freshly Pressed. Thank you to the scintillating Mr. Ireti Bakare Yusuf for keeping it real. Nigerians need to start exercising their fundamental rights to protest in order to effect any real change. And well done to the Deputy Governor of Bauchi for showing class and grace, traits that are far-fetched these days. Interesting. While Biggie is telling me to forget English, we have Yami should go and investigate the matter and give reports to people. If you like, Saba should buy no dictionary.
And on that note, Lagos, we come to the end of the show. Thank you very much for being part of the show.
I cannot forget our YouTube followers very quickly. Collins says, it's no time for dilly-dallying on the budget. June is already here. We cannot afford further delay. And what is wrong with this government? So proudly incompetent. And then Judith Izzy Ali says, a ban on motorcycles and increase unemployment. That is a recipe for disaster. Crime rates are going to soar if the government does not provide alternate jobs for these youth.
All right, catch us in 14 minutes where we join the entertainment crew that are going to come into the studio for the Grapevine. Special thanks to our analysts, Sisi Oge Lagos, That's me to Ireti, Bakare, Yusuf.
And Sissy Beauty.
Meanwhile, those entertainment guys, they will not have as much fun as we have.
They don't.
They won't.
You think?
They will not.
That's Funmi Odude, thank you very much. You should take a group photograph. This is really cute. Judge Ike. Judge Ike on Twitter.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you very much.
Lagos, do stick around. 8:15, we switch lanes and talk entertainment inside the grapevine.
Can I switch to
Okay,
Thursday?
we're having a baby. I'm just excited this morning. So first of all, you tell us what you
That she's pregnant?
No, we're having a baby.
Okay.
And then I start reading this thing, the KG thing. That's crazy. You're not pregnant.
Can you actually let it believe that Linda Ikeji is not pregnant?